Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. I'm your host, Eric, joined as always by my co host, T. T, how are you tonight?
Doing all right.
I'll tell you what, I am excited. Um, I was already pretty pumped about WWE getting back out in front of crowds and stuff. Like that already had me the juices flowing. I don't know about you, but man, everything kind of like I felt like a curveball was thrown at us when Roman Reigns comes out to the ring and basically balks at John Cena's challenge, and then Finn Balor shows up.
Definitely a good swerve right there.
Right, right. I mean, are you like me and thinking that they're still going to end up back with Roman and Cena? That they're just kind of teasing us with the Finn Balor? Or is this legit? Do you think there might be a chance that we get Finn and Roman instead at SummerSlam?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to see Finn more, but
Yeah,
then where does that leave Cena?
right. And John Cena didn't come back just to like kind of tease the Roman Reigns Finn Balor match. He definitely is supposed to be back to challenge for the Universal title. I still think he's going to, but yeah, we both said we think John Cena is going to put over Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, right?
Yeah.
So, what would you think if then, like, maybe they put Finn Balor in some kind of number one contender spot? Like, I don't even know who you'd put him in the ring with right now from SmackDown, but like maybe like a fatal four way or something featuring Cesaro, maybe Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, or something like that. Like a fatal four way of guys that they're going to get the title shot at Clash of Champions and let Finn win that. Finn versus Roman at Clash of Champions. Now, follow me to conclusion on this. My idea is Roman retains at Clash of Champions. Now, I'm thinking something like a DQ or a count out or something. And then at I'm assuming since they already did Hell in a Cell back in July or in June, that maybe they would do Extreme Rules in October. And last year the theme was Extreme Rules Horror Show. Um, and we get the return of the Demon King to challenge Roman Reigns at Extreme Rules for the Universal title, and at Extreme Rules, Finn Balor, the Demon King, walks out the new Universal Champion. With me?
I'm with that.
All right. See, this is what I like. We play out a scenario to its conclusion. Now let's go to the WWE Championship, which seems more and more likely that it's going to be Lashley versus Goldberg. And which I guess is the match that should happen, although I still, if they were going to swerve us, man, I really wish Brock Lesnar would walk out and swerve us and bring us to Lashley Lesnar at SummerSlam. But now, on that matter, I'm thinking, and I know I brought this up last week, that Big E has stated that one of his dream opponents would be Goldberg. And having Goldberg beat Lashley at SummerSlam only on the same night for Big E to cash in on Goldberg and take the WWE Championship. To me, that would make a lot of sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. Like, it all seems tailor made, which is exactly why it definitely won't happen. Because that's just too tailor made for WWE, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. I already teased kind of my ideas for SummerSlam and particularly in the main events. Looking at it now, we know Charlotte and Rhea Ripley are going to challenge Nikki Cross. Any thoughts there as who you think comes out with the Raw Women's Championship?
Uh, I'm gonna hope Nikki Ash, to be honest, because both Ripley and Charlotte have been in the title picture for a little too long.
I would
They've
agree
been
with
in
that.
the picture since like WrestleMania.
Yeah, literally since WrestleMania. I mean, it's like it's just been about those two, and frankly, I'm sick of it.
Yeah, hopefully they'll bring back like Becky Lynch or something, just so we can get someone new in the title picture.
How cool would it be if basically Becky Lynch comes out and maybe screws over Charlotte, and then and then Nikki Ash retains the Raw Women's Championship? I think that would be pretty awesome. Which I'm still surprised, like Becky Lynch was spotted all around Money in the Bank and didn't make any appearance there. You think maybe that was just kind of maybe a meeting with Vince McMahon to talk about her coming back, and that really a lot of fans made much to do about nothing, her not being involved at all in Clash of Champions weekend. I mean, I'm sorry, in Money in the Bank weekend. Getting ahead of myself there. Is that what you think, or am I just putting words in your mouth?
Could be creative. Can't think of anything. You know how that goes.
Yeah, definitely a likely story there. As you know, if you watched any of the previous episodes with your predecessor Joe, he was often quite critical of WWE creative, and for justifiable reasons. I mean, they've dropped the ball on a number of characters. And speaking of which, I feel like I'm watching WWE once again drop the ball on the creative character of Keith Lee. Which that dude, like I see him and I see what he can do in the ring at his size, and I think that guy is pure money. Like you put him at the top of your card and you have a license to print money.
Damn right.
Right. Like, am I the only one feeling like WWE's just completely missing the boat on this guy, or is this part of a long-term plan?
If this is their plan, then I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of have that same reaction, kind of that head shake, and well, I mean, maybe there's a long-term payoff to this. Like if it comes out where like Keith Lee starts a little winning streak now, like obviously you can easily forget about like okay, he lost to Bobby Lashley. Lots of guys are losing to Lashley right now. And then he loses to Kerion Kross, which okay, like you just killed Kerion Kross's momentum last week. It's no big deal to put him back in good standing this week. But I feel like we are one loss away, or one or two losses away from Keith Lee sort of feeling like he's in that Mojo Riley type category. Like where all of a sudden I'm going to see him come out and challenging for the 24/7 championship.
That is, at this point, that is a possibility, man.
Which, by the way, I want to talk about the 24/7 title. That title hasn't gotten much conversation on this show in the past, and I think rightfully so because it's been pretty meaningless. It's just been R-Truth and Tozawa really just feuding over it for the last, year and a half.
Yeah.
And sprinkle in some celebrities or some other, Rob Gronkowski had it for a little while, which was a complete joke. Pretty much the title is a complete joke. But now with Reginald being the 24/7 champion, I feel like it's gotten renewed life. I feel more entertained by it. Do you as well, or am I just
Yeah, man. Reginald had some moves on Monday. It was actually pretty entertaining to watch.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't have any offense, but man, the guy, like, you just can't catch him. Which I have found very entertaining. The whole thing. I found him entertaining since he was with Carmella, and now since he was with Nia and Shayna Baszler. I felt like they were just setting that up to make it to where eventually, if Nia and Shayna Baszler feud over Reginald, and now that they've eliminated Reginald, I guess their plan is to go back to Nia and Shayna winning the women's tag team titles. I'm assuming he's going to come at some point. They'll win the titles back. Those two are some badasses. Would you agree with that assessment? What is your take right now on the women's tag team division?
First, when Nia and Tamina won, it was kind of fun at first.
Mm-hmm. You mean Nia and Shayna? Yeah.
Wanted to get the belt off of I'm messing up.
That's okay. We'll roll with it.
Shayna and Nia.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was all great, but now it's kind of gone downhill.
Yeah.
Not really going anywhere.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the tag team titles are a little stale.
Other than maybe Shotzi and Tegan Knox, I don't think there's any real good teams to win it right now.
Yeah, and that's kind of the shame of it, is that, well, especially with a lot of the releases that went on over the last few months, it feels like we've lost the women's division, and particularly the women's tag team division. They've been a real victim of the great purge of 2021. And that being a cultural reference to the movies, and they're like a forever purge or something now. That sounds like something we should stay away from. Almost sounds like a WWE movies, production. I'm just waiting for like John Cena to be the star and maybe Kane to be the main victim. Which, although See No Evil, great movie. Should watch that sometime if you haven't watched it. I recommend it for the Halloween season when everybody's trying to get scared. Kane just plays that freaking psycho killer so well. How'd that guy ever get elected mayor? I wouldn't want to screw around in Knoxville, Tennessee, man.
Yeah, I still need to watch that movie.
Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. And I'm a guy, like, I love horror movies, and particularly bad horror movies. Like, even if they're god-awful train wrecks and nobody can act, you're still good for a couple scares, a couple cool deaths. And See No Evil definitely delivers on that. Some good scares and some good stupid deaths. Okay, let's get back into SummerSlam. So as we look at the card as it looks right now, I mean, like we said, I still believe John Cena and Roman Reigns is going to headline it. Bobby Lashley and Goldberg. I'm trying to think of what else really sets up for a good personal feud. I mean, once again, it looks like I think Riddle and Orton, RK Bro, are going to challenge AJ Styles and Omos at SummerSlam. AJ and Omos come out getting involved in Riddle's match with Johnny Drip Drip, which all of a sudden, dude, check out what John Morrison has been able to do. Like, his matches with Ricochet were freaking amazing. He's beaten Randy Orton, and now he's beaten Riddle on Raw. Like, all of a sudden, dude, don't sleep on Johnny Drip Drip.
Yeah, It might be to the point where we should just keep Miz as a manager.
I've always believed that one day Miz is going to be a Jerry the King Lawler-esque announcer. Like, that's always been my opinion. Since the first time I saw him really as a wrestler, like, I thought, I'm like, all right, he might do some good things in the ring, but his great contribution to this business is going to be when he's on broadcast, which I don't know if you noticed, he broadcasted a few times on Little Watched Around the World main event when it was on regular TV and Saturday Morning Slam, which I don't know if you remember that show. Miz commentated quite a few times on Saturday Morning Slam. I want to say it was on like it wasn't on CW. I don't recall what Saturday Morning Slam was on.
I know it was a kids network thing.
Yeah, and the Miz broadcasted a few times, and I checked it out, and just because I wanted to see the matches, it was a half-hour thing. Like, it was cool. It was fine that it wasn't too long. I would always DVR it and watch it so I could fast forward through the kid stuff, and just to watch the matches. John Cena and Heath Slater wrestled on Saturday Morning Slam one time. The only time John Cena ever wrestled on Saturday Morning Slam. And yes, it was against Heath Slater. And they actually tried to make Heath like have a couple rallies against John Cena. It was like, that's so cute. You think you can beat John Cena. And speaking of like rivalries where I just don't see it ending well for one side, Jinder Mahal, Drew McIntyre. This has to end with Drew just claymoring the crap out of Jinder Mahal. Am I right?
Yeah. I'm already bored with it.
Yeah, the whole like destroying the sword, like I don't care. Like I don't feel invested in it. And like it's a shame because I know they're trying to do something like put Drew in a personal feud since he can't challenge for the championship anymore. And so go after the guys that cost him it. Like I feel like after SummerSlam, there's really not going to be much for Drew to do unless you've taken the title belt off of Lashley, and then all of a sudden Drew's like, okay, I can challenge again. I want to challenge for the WWE title. Like, I don't know, have they pigeonholed him in, like, and he can't find anything else to do other than to try and challenge for the championship?
Well, maybe if we're lucky, there'll be a draft and they'll move him to SmackDown where he could challenge Reigns. Although they should save that for, like, one of the big four.
Yeah. Well, and I would think, like, say, like, if Big E were to cash in Money in the Bank, like, I'm hoping that it's something like, Big E and Finn Balor at Survivor Series and champion versus champion. And you could even have Roman and Drew as the two captains for Raw and SmackDown. And, the 5-on-5 Survivor Series match, like, of course, depending on, like, hey, look, if you put Drew and Roman on the same show in the draft, like, that could create their own little rivalry that could go on into TLC and even, like, Royal Rumble or WrestleMania. Which I would enjoy a Drew McIntyre Roman Reigns run as a rivalry.
Yeah, and I can see that rivalry spreading out several pay-per-views.
Right, and do maybe a couple gimmick matches in there. Whether it be like some kind of Extreme Rules match, a tables match. You could do something. You could do a lot of good things with that rivalry. I still wonder, like, what is the plan though, as far as the Universal Championship? I don't know if like they just want to let John Cena break the record at SummerSlam, if they still want to let Roman, continue on his year-long run. Which to me, like, if John Cena, your plan isn't to have John Cena there in the fall at all. Like, I almost would just rather him not do it there. Like, clear out his schedule so we can work a couple pay-per-views in April, May, June, so that he can win the championship at WrestleMania and defend it a couple times before losing it.
I got a plan for Cena if he's not gonna challenge for the Universal title.
All right, yeah, let's hear it.
All right, so obviously Finn and Roman, that'll be a match, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
That is the case. Have Cena go after a title he hasn't won yet, the Intercontinental title, go after Apollo Crews, and got two good outcomes either way.
Either Cena wins and he gets a title he's never won, or Apollo Crews gets a freaking win over John Cena.
Yeah. And if Cena does win, then they can do it like 2015 or 16.
With the open challenge?
Yeah. Put over some more mid-carders.
Yeah, and you could even, have a couple weeks of John Cena being successful. He's going to be leaving in the fall. And then you could just say a random SmackDown episode, John Cena drops the Intercontinental title.
Yeah.
Maybe to like a Sami Zayn or,
Oh, that'd be perfect.
Right? And maybe it's the first time WWE goes back to Canada. or KO. You could let KO come in and challenge him and take the Intercontinental Championship. I would be all about that. Yeah. Let Cena achieve something he's never. That's a good idea.
Yeah, because they're not really doing anything with Apollo right now. Which is
no,
weird.
You're right. They're not. That would be good. At least it's another way to create a star power match at SummerSlam. And that, if you're trying to make SummerSlam this year bigger than WrestleMania, to me, that's the way you do it. Is Cena's challenging for a title he's never won. That makes it a big deal. Roman and Finn Balor. And hey, look, it's going to be 5 years, almost 5 years to the day, that since Finn Balor won the very first Universal Championship. And now maybe he could win it this time and, I don't know, keep it for a little bit.
Let's hope he doesn't break his shoulder again.
Yeah, right. I actually went back and rewatched that pay-per-view over the weekend. And, yeah, it's so funny. Like, you can definitely see that Finn Balor's hurt his shoulder in that match. But, God, does he got it out. Like, he is a trooper.
Yeah.
And him and Seth Rollins, they have such great chemistry. Where I'd love to create a little. That's another match we haven't even really talked about. Seth Rollins and Edge. That seems to be a match we're going to see at SummerSlam. I'm crazy excited for that one.
Oh, yeah. That could probably be match of the night.
Yeah, I think you're onto something with that. I think that match could steal the show. And I mean, I like that they're digging back into the old story of when Seth had Edge lined up ready for, the curb stomp. And then he didn't pull the trigger. And that wasn't part of the plan at the time because they had no idea that Edge would ever wrestle again. But that had to be one of those things they talked about, like, hey, wait, we could set up this great story between Seth Rollins and Edge. I mean, that's great work on creative.
Yeah. Yeah, keeping with the continuity and all.
Right. And that's something that, at times WWE has lacked, but I really like that this time they've come through, and that's reaching out to your older audience that has been a part of this for a long time Like, they remember that story. And it's always fun when you can pull back with your audience and say, hey, do you remember when this happened? Well, now you're getting a payoff from it. And not just the payoff of, oh, the Authority's back. Woohoo. This group we thought was ruining WWE for about a year or so, they're back in charge. Yay. And that stipulation that John Cena and really Dolph Ziggler, which how they didn't push that as such a bigger moment for Dolph Ziggler, I'll never know. Like, Dolph Ziggler just won and eliminated the Authority. Like, when the Authority came back, that could have been a great setup to, like, say, a Dolph Ziggler Triple H match at WrestleMania instead of, oh, yay, we're going to persecute, oh, yeah, it was Triple H and Sting, which was a great match, but a terrible ending. There's no way in my mind Sting should have lost that match.
Okay. WWE can't let their ego go.
Yeah, I feel like that was just another shot at WCW. Like, hey, remember, we won the Monday Night War, so we have to bury your stars. Which isn't the exact reason why Sting didn't want to sign with WWE in the first place? Is he was worried they were just going to use him to bury WCW. And then that's exactly what they did. Which, I mean, the only other time you see Sting on pay-per-view was at Night of Champions against Seth Rollins in the match where Seth almost crippled Sting. And I don't mean that derogatory. I don't think Seth really did anything wrong. I think it was just a freak accident. Sting says Seth didn't do anything wrong, so if Sting says it, I kind of believe him. But to me, that whole thing seemed pointless. Like, there was a good story between Seth Rollins and John Cena. To me, you'd never really done just a straight two-fall match between two guys. You've done the two-fall match with Chris Benoit, Kurt Angle, and Chris Jericho at WrestleMania 16. But you never did a match where one or two titles on the line, one fall for each belt in one match. Like, I think that would have been perfect for John Cena and Seth Rollins. Like, Seth had already gotten his month as double champion. John Cena scores the first pin. And then Seth does something underhanded and gets the second one to retain the WWE Championship. It would have been perfect. You didn't need to Sting there. To me, that kind of seemed like a whole, like, hey, Seth Rollins loves Sting, and so we're going to let him have what he wants in a match with Sting.
Oh, yeah.
But now think about it. Like, Seth Rollins is going to be one of those guys. I'm trying to think if he's going to be one of the only guys who's going to be able to say Seth Rollins that he's had a match with Sting. He's had a match with Edge, like, and what, Roman Reigns, like I'm trying to think of like the trifecta there that you would say nobody's had a match with all three. Because Chris Jericho's had a match with all three, but Chris Jericho's had a match with everybody. Or did Chris Jericho ever have a one-on-one match with? Well, okay, I didn't say Seth Rollins is one of the guys. He's one of the guys. Like, I know he's had a match with Sting. At least I just got to believe while he was in WCW, he had to have a match with Sting at some point.
Wait, did he?
I don't know that he did. Now that we say it out loud, I don't know that he did. Oh, jeez. Now that's going to make me go back and check.
Well, fire up the old Peacock Network.
Which I guess this is as good a time as any to shamelessly plug for Chris Jericho. Not that he has funded us in any way, but the book List of Jericho. That to me is on my birthday wish list. The List of Jericho. It lists every match he ever had as a pro, with any company, and it's just, what match, when it was, what the outcome was. Which there's got to be a bazillion house shows that he did that, like, basically nobody knows that who won what match. Because Chris Jericho was one of the guys. He was the anti-Brock Lesnar for a while. If you recall, a couple of years ago, well, I guess a few years ago now, he was doing the only house shows run. He was not working TV at all, just working house shows. Which is just crazy because, like, who just does house shows? Like, nobody does that.
Yeah, especially a big star like himself.
Right. Like, I just think that is crazy cool that Chris Jericho did that. And then he comes back on TV basically to help Kevin Owens, a fellow Canadian. And I didn't even know this until I watched some of their documentaries that, or the Chris Jericho on Stone Cold podcast, The Broken Skulls, that he and Kevin Owens were originally going to be the main event of WrestleMania 33.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were going to wrestle for the Universal Championship at WrestleMania 33 until they decided to take the belt off KO, put it on Goldberg, and have Goldberg face Brock Lesnar. But they were going to close the show in Orlando. And that would have been pretty cool. Instead, Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens are on second, and which is, I don't think I'm breaking any news here when I say the second match on a pay-per-view is usually the biggest steaming pile of crap. It's just, hey, we have to have this match somewhere, so we're putting it on second. It's basically they put on a nice match to open the card. And to me, the second match is, okay, if you want to go get something to drink, go get it now if you're at home. Or, the popcorn match, which I love. If you haven't watched the Broken Skull session with Stone Cold Steve Austin on Peacock, you should. You learn all these little terms where, like, Godfather was working with, oh gosh, now I'm drawing a blank on who he was working with, where he said that they were doing Undertaker. He said they were doing the popcorn match, which is, I didn't realize this. It was the match right after you come back from intermission. And it was the reason they call it that is because everybody's going to get their popcorn and they're just getting back to their seats. And it was usually, I don't know, I feel like I'm mixing up the story. But anyway, like, basically Godfather worked in all this stuff that he didn't normally work in when he was wrestling in these popcorn matches. It may not have been, in fact, it feels like, a match with The Undertaker would have been too big for him to, like, be in a popcorn match. Because I'm sure it's been eons since Undertaker was in a popcorn match. But I learned the term, and so I just wanted to find a way to use it on the show. Because I never, and it's funny, like, the guys have their terms, like yanking the curtain, when they're going on first on the show. And, of course, closing the show, main event. And, if you're the first match back after intermission, it's the popcorn match. Now, that's a good term. Anybody who's going to be going to a house show over the next few months, as WWE's back on tour, pay attention to that. Check out how the popcorn match is and see, and a lot of times guys try out different things during the popcorn match. Because I figure nobody's paying attention anyway. So, T, I figure we're just about to get out of here. Been a good show. We've talked a lot about what the SummerSlam build-up is, at least so far. I'll tell you one match that I anticipate being added to SummerSlam. If you can think of one that you'd like to have added, I think Sheamus defending the U.S. title against Damian Priest at SummerSlam has to happen.
Oh, it has to. Plus, last Monday, he won the
the contender match, yeah.
Speaking on the contender match real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
the main event of Raw, Charlotte versus Nikki. Why did they count that as a contender match when they already made the match for SummerSlam? That was just weird. I don't know if anyone else noticed that.
Oh, I definitely noticed that, and I think you're right. You're right on point there. It just seems to me like a way for Charlotte to have momentum and to now. I guess that's going to be a storyline as we go into that triple threat match at SummerSlam. Is how Nikki Ash's confidence is, even after losing to Charlotte. Like, I wonder if they're going to have her get the win over Charlotte on Monday Night Raw this week, which to me would be counterproductive to that whole the story being Nikki Ash being scared and not feeling like she could handle that spotlight. Which to me just again screams Nikki Ash has got to win this match. Like, she has to win this, right? Like, if you're going to make her the next established star in the women's division, and let's be honest, you need to have more stars in that women's division because right now you've got Charlotte, you've got Rhea Ripley, and what would you argue? I mean, Bianca Belair, of course, on SmackDown, but like Asuka is the next best, and you haven't done a whole lot to really push Asuka since she lost the women's championship at WrestleMania.
And they obviously went against pushing Shayna as a single star. Ooh, it's a tongue twister.
Yeah, right. Try saying that 10 times fast. Shayna is a single star.
When they had Shayna win that elimination chamber by eliminating everyone,
right?
Figured she was the one going to be the next top women's star, but guess not.
Yeah, then you have her lose to Becky Lynch at WrestleMania, and then ever since then, it's been making sure they do whatever they have to have Shayna Baszler right there in the middle of the women's division, not at all near the top of it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, am I the only, like, I like the team of Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, but am I the only one that was content to just watch the two of them tear each other apart forever?
I wanted that match so badly, and I still do.
I do too. Like, and I was really hoping Reginald was going to break up that team, and we were finally going to get to see Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. Because I think those two women could tear the house down. And I hate to say this. Look, we're in 2021, and we're supposed to be beyond this. The reason is neither of those women are perceived as hot. I mean, some people think Charlotte's attractive. I know plenty of people who don't, and that think that that's the reason why she's getting pushed. And look, we both thought Liv Morgan was set up to win Money in the Bank. Why did we think that? She kind of fits the bill for what WWE wants out of their female wrestlers. Yeah, she's got athleticism, but she's also young and beautiful.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, for WWE and the women's division, that matters. It shouldn't. It should be about who's athletically the best and who can tell the best story and who can be a believable champion and a believable challenger. But for Vince McMahon and WWE Creative, it does boil down a lot to attractiveness. Like, and maybe we'll be the one show that's not afraid to say it. That's what it is. There's a reason why Carmella and Bianca Belair were put in a premier match. And Carmella billed as the most beautiful woman in WWE. Look, I mean, no guys out there talking about being the most attractive guy in WWE. Like, it's a double standard. It's what they're still doing in WWE.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But anyway, those are my final thoughts on this week in wrestling, and looking forward to watching what's going to happen tomorrow night on SmackDown, whether or not they're going to figure out who's going to actually challenge Roman Reigns for the Universal title. I still think it's going to be John Cena. I liked your idea of John Cena, Apollo Crews at SummerSlam, and then the eventual Intercontinental title open challenge, and then having Finn Balor, Roman Reigns. I like that. but I think they're going to end up going with SummerSlam, John Cena, Roman Reigns, because it's the marquee match.
Eh. Well, what they're probably setting up for on the SmackDown before one of these SmackDowns before on SummerSlam, probably do Balor versus Cena on free TV, which would
I'll tell you,
definitely
sign me up for that.
get. That's got to be one of the reasons they're putting Finn Balor in this whole scene.
Yeah, I can believe that, and I think that would make for great television. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for tonight. Chief, as always, great having you. Anything to add before we get out of here?
Not really.
All right, I like it. I love it. Everybody, have a great night. Thank you so much for joining us. Join us next week. We'll get back into everything we see over the next week. So everybody have a great night until we come at you again. Happy wrestling.
Yeah.